Today was the Tuesday livestream reveal and it gave us the brand new Amon, including the new support cards as well as the reprint for Dark Regulars. But on top of that, we also see a brand new Asura Kaiser and some generic support for Grand Blue. Let's talk about the latest reveals for V-Clan Collection Volume 6. Stand up! Vanguard! Hey Cardfighters, welcome back to another Cardfight update, and today, yes, again, it's another Tuesday livestream reveal, so we have a couple of new cards to talk about, and this time it's all in theme of the new V-Clan Collection Volume 6 cards. And yes, I know we already saw the reveal of the new Genesis cards, including the reprints, and on top of that we also saw the new Asura Reverse, but we're gonna tackle that into a future video, maybe tomorrow or maybe a bit later this week. But today the focus is all around the new Amon, as well as the new Asura Kaiser and the Sea Serpent for Grand Blue. So with that said, let's jump straight into these new reveals, and we start off with a brand new grade 1 for Dark Regular, which is Amon's follower, Atrocious Blow. And Atrocious Blow has the effect, although when a unit is placed on the Vanguard circle, look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose up to one grade 3 card with Amon in its card name from among them, reveal it, put it into your hand and shuffle your deck. So this is basically a grade 3 searcher. It allows us to search potentially for the generic Amon or the Amon Reverse. Now, spoiler alert, you're probably gonna mainly look for the older Amon, but you will see soon enough what I mean with that. And then its secondary effect, which is pretty nice, is act on Vanguard circle, cause rest this unit, soul charge 1, choose one of your units with Amon's card name, and until the end of turn, it gets power plus 1k for each card in your soul. Now this card has been regarded as an insane card for the community by a lot of the Dark Regular players, and I can understand why, because this is essentially the old yellow bolt with the V-era stats on it, because it's rest, soul charge 1, but now it's a 10k shield and 8k base, but on top of that, it also gives power. And it can give power to any Amon unit. So it could be your Vanguard or it could be your Rearguard. And it can give it to himself. So if you can re-stand it again, sure, you get the power. Now in premium it could be with a stand trigger. Or what's more important here is that the other older Amon support cards from the previous V-Clan collection are already regarded as generic staples for Dark Regulars. And this card synergizes very nicely with those two cards, which means you have now this very good generic soul charge engine that is basically regarded as staples that now also can empower your early game, thus making Dark Regulars a lot more aggressive right at the get-go, besides just aggressive soul charging. So this is overall a very versatile card that will be really nice for the Amon deck, but can definitely see a lot of play across the board as long as you combine this with any other Amon unit or just for good early soul charging. Now on top of that, we also see a brand new grade 2 Amon card, which is Amon's follower, Soul Sucker. And Soul Sucker has the effect, although when its unit is rolled upon by a unit with Amon's card name, soul charge free. Now this could be any of the grade 3s, or you could rewrite into another grade 2. Now this is probably not going to be done in V premium, but could be a thing in premium depending on your deck and this scenario you find yourself in. So it's a skill that can be used in multiple ways. And then on top of that, it also has the effect on a Vanguard circle when this unit attacks, costs counter plus 1, soul charge 1, and this unit gets power plus 5k until the end of the battle. At the end of the battle, if you have a Vanguard with Amon's card name and you have 6 or more cards to your soul cost, put this unit into your soul and draw a card. So this is somewhat similar to like a Coral Assault type of skill that goes to soul, draws a card, but also does some other things. In this case, get a little bit power and could generate soul for 1 counterblast. It's decent, like it can give you the value you're going to need and could come up here and there. But I think overall, probably synergized with the fact that it has the Amon names, it can synergize with the grade 1 and also generate soul charge, so it's not outright just bad. Like, I think this is a middle of the line type of card, which is decent enough. It has a lot of options, but I don't think like this is any major game changing card or anything. And yes, this trend is going to continue where the grade 1 is insane, the grade 2 is kind of okay, and then the grade 3 is very underwhelming because we've got the new Amon Reverse. And yeah, this is its skill, Demon World Marquis Amon Reverse, and his skills are act on Vanguard circle once a turn, cause lock 2 rear guards, and until the end of turn, this unit gets power plus 2k for each card in your soul. if this unit's power is 40k or greater, this unit gets critical +1 until the end of turn. So the power threshold is definitely not hard to get, because don't forget, it is a 12k base, so you actually only need to get 28k power, which means you need to have 14 soul. 14 soul for Dark Regulars is no problem. Like, they can easily manage that. Now, that does mean if you brick a little bit, you cannot soul charge fast enough. This is just a beater without a crit. But in most cases, it's just going to be a beater with a crit that loses either 2 boosters or maybe an attacker. Overall, it's not really that great. But it has another skill which doesn't really change a lot, which is act on Vanguard Circle once a turn, cost counter +1, choose up to 2 cards with Amon's card name from your soul and call them to the Vanguard Circle. At the end of the turn, put those called units into your soul. So essentially, it allows you to recoup the losses of the 2 cards that you lock. So you call 2 boosters, lock those, and then you can call out 2 new attackers from your soul that goes back into the soul. So it's interesting enough with the fact that this skill is a Magia type skill. You call something out from the soul, it goes back to the soul. And then the first effect is like a Dimension Police, a burst skill that does something if you meet a certain power threshold. Now, the thing is, the ability to call out 2 units that goes back to the soul does synergize with certain cards within Dark Regulars, like the Soul Sucker, for example, which can put itself into the soul anyways. So the cost of the fact that you lose a card is somewhat mitigated, and the same can be said if you combine this with like Number of Terror, which also puts something into the soul. So it makes those cards less costly, but at the same time you're not really doing a lot, as you still are only gonna attack like 3 times and your Vanguard is just a big beater with a crit. Sure, if you combine it with Hope on Damp, it can be nice, but anything is gonna be nice with Hope on Damp, so might as well just combine it with anything else. And it kind of sucks with the fact that this comes after the original Amon that we saw in the previous support wave, which is actually kind of cracked with the fact that it rips out cards from your opponent's hand, puts everything for them into soul, which then you can benefit off. It has power, criticals, potentially extra drives, and this is just a beater. That's all it does. Like, maybe I'm overlooking a value somewhere, but this card feels like it doesn't really do anything. And that's my issue with this Amon, honestly. I think of the support we've seen so far, it's the grade 1 that's pretty insane. The grade 2 is fine. The grade 3 is kind of underwhelming. Now, what is actually kind of interesting is the new reprints they confirmed for Dark Regulars, which are these cards. Yellow Bolt, Megarock Gigant, and Number of Terror. Now, Yellow Bolt and Number of Terror are really good generic staple cards that definitely will see play throughout the ages, so these are nice reprints. And to those that might wonder, what is Megarock Giant, or should I say Gigant? It's a promo that has released very recently, and I never really talked about this card on the channel, as I sometimes skip over promos. But this card is actually pretty decent and can definitely see some play. So let's put a lens on this card so you can understand what this card actually is. Because this grade 2 has the following effect. Although the number of cards discarded from your hand for this cost is reduced by 1 for every 5 cards in your soul, when this unit is put onto the Guardian Circle. Cost, counter +1 and discard 4 cards and perform one of the following. Choose one of your units and it gets power +10 until the end of turn. Choose one of your units, and it cannot be hit until the end of the battle. So this is essentially a Heal Guardian / a Perfect Guard into a grade 2. This is honestly a pretty decent card, if not really strong in the right circumstances. Because yes, it costs a counterblast and discard 4, but if you have 5 soul, it's discard 3, 10 soul, discard 2, 15 soul, discard 1, 20 soul, 0 discard, just a counterblast. So in certain instances, it's a counterblast 1 for a PG. Which means it's almost in the same value of a PG, which is really good, because instead of a discard, you pay the counterblast, and the counterblast is equal to a draw. But also, if you're up against a multi-tech deck that pokes quite a lot, getting the 10k power, maybe if you need to discard 2 cards, can honestly be worth way more if that's like 10k power on like 5 attacks to come. And also, this card being not a Sentinel and a grade 2, it navigate around Sentinel Restrict or like cards that doesn't allow you to guard with grade 3s or anything. Like, it's an interesting new defensive option that's now easy accessible for anybody, and I can definitely see this being played as like a tech choice in a lot of Dark Regular decks, because it works very well with any Dark Regular strategy, because all of them mainly want to accelerate their soul count as fast as possible, so this benefits from that. Now, moving on from Dark Regulars, we also got a brand new Grand Blue support card, and this is kind of interesting, because so far the separate releases of just individual cards has been like boss unit. Think of Asura Reverse, the new Asura Kaiser, even the Kagero card that we already talked about, Aleph. Like, these are boss units that can create their own strategy or their own deck. But in case of Grand Blue, we saw this grade 2 King Serpent, which is just a generic card. It could be like a tech choice over staple card, but I don't think it's staple enough, because its effect is the following. Although, when this unit is placed in a rearguard circle by a card's ability, Soul Charge 1, and this unit gets power plus 10k until the end of turn. Keep in mind, it's an 8k base, so it becomes an 18k attacker that generates a soul. But also it has the effect, although when this unit is retired from your rearguard circle by your card's ability, if your damage zone has no face-up cards, counter charge 1. So if you can combine this with Night Rose, which then allows you to refund Counter Blast as well as Soul Charge, and it has an 18k beater. But my issue is that there is actually already better cards that fulfill the same role as this card does. Because if you are looking for a beater, Ghost Ship and Skull Dragons are probably a lot better. Yes, you can guard with this and call it from hand, sure, but then this card doesn't really do anything and it's just an 8k base. And if you're looking for a counter charger, we have Cutlass and we have the Ghosty grade 2, I think its name is Jesse, but I could be remembering wrong here, that also can countercharge, and they can call themselves on the field by their own skill, so they then also mitigate the potential minuses you get from with Nitro. So I don't really feel like this has a lot of playability. Like, maybe this could be like a one-off in certain builds, but I feel like other cards already fulfill the purpose this card is supposed to fulfill. Maybe this might work with the other Grand Blue cards we're going to see, because this is the only card we've seen so far, but it's too early to speculate at this point. Now, personally, a card that I am honestly very excited about and cannot wait to actually playtest is the brand new Asura Kaiser for Nova Grappler, because the card that's been revealed for Nova Grappler for the upcoming set is War Deity Asura Kaiser. And yes, this was the original Asura Kaiser Stride. So there is potential for another Asura Kaiser, because I believe Asura Kaiser got like a break ride version or like a cross ride for a variant, but I could be misremembering that. But that's besides the point. Let's take a look at these spicy new skills that this card has. Because this Asura Kaiser has the following effect: act from hand. If your Vanguard is Asura Kaiser, cost counter plus 1 and write this card as stand. So you can essentially accelerate Exos markers now, because for the Asura Kaiser build, because you can write Asura Kaiser and immediately use this effect to write it on top of it. And that means you counter plus 1 to -1 in hand, but you draw the card immediately back because you got another Exo circle, so you can generate more attacks. And yes, you still waste the counter blast, but if we combine it with the other skills, then that counter blast you're using is probably justified for the power output this card can generate. Because its other effect is act on the Vanguard circle once per turn. If Asura Kaiser is in your soul, which you can fulfill with his first effect, cost soul plus 1, look the 3 cards from the top of your deck, choose a card from among them, put it on the top of your deck, and discard the rest. So essentially you can stack triggers if you want to do that, or you can stack like grade 2s and grade 3s to make the other effect activate on a more consistent basis. And keep in mind, we do have Heal Guardians, which are triggers and grade 3s, so these fulfill both requirements if you want to go have best of both worlds. That's literally having your cake and eating it too. So what is this skill interaction that I'm talking about? Well, that brings us to its third effect, which is on the Vanguard circle once a turn. At the end of the battle, your drive check revealed a grade 2 or greater card. Choose one of your rearguards, stand it, and if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, cost counter plus 1 and stand all of your rearguards. Not front row, not columns, just every single rearguard gets restood. And that means if you have that second Exo circle, that means you restunned 7 units in one go if you fill out your entire board. And that's a lot of restand capabilities for just 1 or maybe 2 counterblasts. And there is actually a lot of very interesting shenanigans you can employ with this card. A very good example of this is Zazanda. Because if I remember correctly, Zazanda has the effect that if a unit restands by an ability, and if itself is on the Exo circle, it and that unit gets power plus 5k. So if you reset the entire board at the same time, that one Zazanda is going to empower your entire field with 5k. So columns is going to get plus 10k. And it itself is going to get plus, what, like plus 30k? So that Zazanda is going to be huge. And if you have like 2 Zazandas, both on the 2 axle circles you just generated, that means both Zazandas are going to get like plus 30k. And the rest of your field is going to get plus 10k. So that means you start to hit like a truck with all these multi-attacks. But there's even some applications in premium here, because interesting enough, because its first effect is act from hand, if your Vanguard is Asura Kaiser, no grade requirements here, that means you can stride, and then write this thing on top of your stride back into grade 3, if your hard card is of course Asura Kaiser. Now you might think to yourself, what's the point of that? Because most Nova Grappler Vanguards, the stride units, have on-attack skills, so this doesn't synergize with that. Well, there are 2 strides that synergize very nicely with this. One is the brand new stride from Premium Collection, which allows you to potentially attack with your Vanguard in the main phase. Yes, you lose drive checks every single time you do that, but you know what doesn't lose a drive check? The new Asura Kaiser the moment it rewrites on top of it. So if you combine this card with the Asura Kaiser grade 3, then with the new stride from the Premium Collection and potentially the Beast Deity support cards that allow you to resend an attack into the main phase to then activate your Vanguard's ability to keep restanding and attacking, and then finish it, topping it off with this rewrite to attack and then potentially restand your entire board, could be a very nice interaction. But another thing you can combine this card with is the original version of itself. He himself is a stride that works wonders with this engine, because he himself as a stride unit has the effect that if Asura Kaiser is the hard card, you can put a grade 3 from your drop on the top of your deck. And then if you draw check a grade 3, you can resend 4 units. But that's not the part that we're interested in. We're interested in the part that allows you to put a grade 3 from your drop on the top of your deck. Which means you can stride by discarding a grade 3, then put that card immediately on top of your deck, then use this card's effect to go back into this grade 3, and then secure the drive check to reset everything. Now you might think to yourself, hold on, if you go for Axel 2, you draw the card. Well, if you can afford to go Axel 1, this is the direction you can take. And then we go back to the having the cake and eating it too, because if we combine this with Heal Guardians, you can discard the grade 3 heal, to then stride to the discard, put the heal back on top of deck, because the stride doesn't specify normal unit, because at the time the stride came out, there were no grade 3 triggers, so you can put the Heal Guardian on top of your deck, and then essentially not only secure an entire board that's going to restand, but also you're going to heal, which also is a trigger, so you get a little bit more power. And that means you have a Nova Grappler stride turn, that essentially is a Angel Feather stride, that multi-attacks. That's honestly not that bad. So I don't know if that's gonna be like an actual competitive deck. Probably not. It's more like a meme, but it's a damn funny meme. And overall, in V Premium, I think it has, honestly, options. Like, I think there's a merit to say that this new Asura Kaiser is gonna be solid. And I hope so. It looks very interesting, and I cannot wait to try the card out for myself. Now, of course, we also know that the original Asura Kaiser is going to be reprinted as one of the reprints for Nova Grappler, which is nice because it means you don't have to search out the old copy to make that work, because now if you get a playset of the new support, you immediately have the necessary card to make this card work, which is nice. Now, if only they did that with any other reversion that required any of the other VRs. Would be nice. That's about everything that we have today. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of these new cards. What do you think of the new Dark Regular cards? Do you disagree with me that the Amon Reverse is actually really good? Am I overlooking something? Or same case with the Grand Blue supporter. Do you think the Grade 2 is actually really good and fulfills a specific niche? Because again, there might be something I'm overlooking. And are you excited about the new Asura Kaiser, or do you think I'm looking way too much into this card and there is not really a lot of capability for the card? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, this video has been brought to you by lovely patrons over patreon.com/ringtheinsider. You guys are amazing. If you want to support the channel or everything that's happening on the channel, you can simply go to patreon.com/ringtheinsider and become a patron today. But with that said, I've missed a time leap, and I see you guys in the next one!